This is Scott from KIG. It's April 18th, 2017, and we're going to do a runoff video of yet another 7.5 ton cold shot chiller. This unit today will be going to California. Model ACWC-090 EORM M25, serial number M012413-1. It's a 2013 unit. This unit has a upgraded 5 horsepower pump. It's the newer R410A refrigerant. We've been running it for a week or two now. Really didn't have to do much of anything to it. A few adjustments on the controller and on the thermal expansion valve, and confirming some things on the pressure switches. You have basically your off, your cooling cycle, and your pump only. We'll turn it on to the pump only right now. And we just got a little bit of a loop set up here, and with a shut off to give our pump a little bit of back pressure. Now, when you first start this unit up, or first bring your main power into it, you'll probably snake it through here and come up into this area here and tie it into the contactor. We do have all the covers for this unit, of course. And when you first start it up, you'll want to have somebody looking at the back of the pump here and make sure you have the pump rotation correct. This is a 3-phase pump and a phase-dependent unit. When looking at the back of the pump, you want to see that it's going clockwise from the rear of the pump, just like you see there. And to do that, usually you have somebody here and they bump that with a flashlight while looking in the back of the pump. If it's rotating in the wrong direction, then you disconnect your main power and either change any two of the leads at your receptacle plug, although you're probably not going to use a receptacle plug with this type of amps. Then you'd probably change swap out any of your L1, L2, L3 here, any two. Then reconnect your power, double check the rotation, and you should be good to go. So we're going to turn it on pump only. With the controller, you don't have to worry about the SMT, which is Smart Test button. All you need to do is go to Function. That brings you to the primary set point. And for this test, we're going to lower it to 28 Fahrenheit. The other ones are alarm codes and stuff, and we can walk you through those if needed down the road, but you shouldn't have to worry about that. So then when you change it to cooling cycle, that's when it should start chilling, as you hear. This is an outdoor rated unit. This does have your crankcase heater for the compressor. It's always nice when you first do a startup to bring power to the unit, and as long as power is coming into the unit, the crankcase heater will stay warm. As a general rule, they want you to keep that crankcase heater on for about 12 hours before you run the unit. This unit has low ambient option, so we have our Johnson Controls P266 fan speed control, and you just kind of can hear the fan ramp up there. Nice smooth start. And a combination of that and on-off fan switching gives you some good low ambient capability. In the climate which we're going to, it's not going to be as critical, but it's still nice to have from an efficiency standpoint. Again, we have a 5 horsepower pump here. Now for this application, we're actually going to be going through a heat exchanger. If we were going to be going to some jacketed tanks, we may have changed the way it's piped a little bit. But right now, it's piped pretty standard for a closed loop chiller. We're going to draw off the tank, out to your process, back into the chiller, and the chiller's heat exchanger. We do have an internal, meaning inside the chiller enclosure, bypass here. We'll probably ship that cracked open like a quarter or halfway. That's to ensure there's always enough flow coming over the heat exchanger within the chiller. We do have all the side covers. It's in really good shape. There's a little bit of a dent over here on the corner, and maybe a scratch or two on the unit, but overall as good or better than what you'd expect for a 2013 chiller. Oh, depending on your what voltage you're actually running, the control transformer inside is wired for 220 or 240 volts primary. Okay, if your voltage is on the low side, 200, 208 three-phase, just change the wires as labeled on the control transformer. The compressor and fans and pump, they're fine for either the low or high, the low end of the low voltage or the high end of the low voltage. But in the control transformer, it's nice to make that modification if needed. This design unit, we have our flow switch here, and kind of tough to see, but in here in the tank, that's where we have the braze plate heat exchanger submerged within the tank, which is kind of nice in case it ever gets a little bit too cold or an ice up, which really shouldn't happen if you have the appropriate amount of glycol, but it does allow it to thaw out very quickly. And as I mentioned, we do have all the side covers of the unit. It'll ship with them on there. Here's your glycol sight glass. We're going to transfer it over to this apparently a very hefty piece of plywood on this skid, and it's going to ship with all sides traded and secured tomorrow. Thermal expansion valve there. And the refrigerant sight glass. So we started out at what, 78 or 80? I'll bring on video number 2 when we get down to set point temp.